ex-Atlanta police officer Justin Thorne is preparing to serve a 10-year prison sentence after he pled guilty earlier this month for his role in the 2019 armed robbery of Freddie Gladney III, who's better known by his stage name Bankroll Freddie.
So imagine this. It's a typical day at a motel in Georgia. Guests are checking in and out, and there's families moving about, and then suddenly shit gets real, and an armed robbery breaks out, and you see a cop running by. And instead of being there to save you with his badge and his gun, he's a part of a robbery that's currently targeting a rapper that is staying at that motel. The uniform, gun, and badge are all real, but he's a disgraced cop. And to be honest, this is where the story of the robbery of rapper Bankroll Freddie and the dirty ex-cop who's about to serve 10 years for setting him up gets crazy. And we have the video of all of it because apparently they don't teach you on the police force about how security cameras work. Cause yeah, it's on camera.
My cousin come to the door. Hey, this is my room. What's going on? Guy come from inside. You already know what time it is.
But yes, a gangster rapper set up by a corrupt ex-cop and a robbery gone wrong sounds like a story I want to hear. And we'll get into how ex-officer Justin Thorne got caught. But first, I am Joe Stone, and this is the Church of Joe Stone podcast, where we find the most shocking and provocative news and take it to church. They just tell you what happened, and I make sure it doesn't happen to you with news you can use. Now, before Justin Mikale Thorne decided to plan and execute a high-stakes armed robbery in Atlanta, ex-officer Thorne, a man who had taken the oath to protect and serve his community, was being linked to cases of corruption. Allegedly, he was making promises to suspects with outstanding warrants, basically saying that if you throw me a couple of dollars, I can make all this legal shit go away and your warrants disappear. But as we can see, Officer Thorne wasn't the brightest crayon in the box. Well, eventually, Internal Affairs found out, because again, he's not that good of a criminal, and he submitted his resignation 2 weeks before the attempted robbery on Bankroll Freddie. But how in the hell did Officer Thorne go from selling get-out-of-jail-free cards to trying to stick up a rapper in a hotel is what brings us to what happened on October 17th, 2019. So let's get into what actually happened and go through all the footage. Justin Mikale Thorne, now an ex-cop, arrived in the parking lot of the motel. He backed in his gray Dodge Charger in the parking lot and then went inside. Around 11, the motel's surveillance cameras captured Thorne's every move. He's wearing his Atlanta Police Department uniform and his badge and his gun at his side and started patrolling the 4th floor where Bankroll Freddie was staying. Now, what's crazy is while this is happening, Bankroll Freddie and his cousin are downstairs talking to the front desk lady. And what's even crazier is that she actually asked him about all the money and jewels that he has on him, wondering if he was scared of being robbed. And of course, the rapper says some tough guy shit about how nobody's gonna play with him.
You never see they get robbed or something?
You ever heard that old saying, people know who to play with?
And well, apparently he was wrong because he got robbed. And I'm gonna tell you how to avoid that later. But fast forward, the cops upstairs and the 2 actual robbers in a Toyota Camry get out of the car and start walking through the hotel, presumably already on the phone with the officer, as he tells them that the coast is clear. He meets them at the elevator and he escorts them to Bankroll Freddie's room. Thorne would act like he is still a cop to get Bankroll Freddie and his cousin to open the door so the robbers could rush them. Next, you see on camera Bankroll Freddie taking off down the hallway. I'm talking about hitting that bitch. Full court press. I don't know if he's a rapper or a goddamn NFL player, but the nigga look fast. That's all I'm saying. Leaving his cousin there to get pistol whipped by the robbers. And now during this time, the cop runs downstairs as soon as the whole melee starts to start checking their escape route. And I just appreciate that right now Officer Thorne is acting like a super cop, like he knows how to get away with the robbery. I'm guessing that his presence was supposed to help secure the situation and make sure that everybody gets away, except for the fact that he's acting like there's not cameras all throughout this hotel and like the police don't have pictures of his face. But I guess, you know, maybe next time you should hire a cop that's still on the force, not one that got fired. I don't know. Or had to resign. Maybe that was the mistake. But either way, as soon as this all happens, the robbers get away with nothing. And unfortunately, officers descend upon the hotel and quickly, after looking at security camera footage, figure out that, of course, they know exactly who the guy in the APD uniform is because he was just on the force 2 weeks ago. And now that he was identified and caught on camera orchestrating a robbery, he was immediately charged, brought into custody, and ended up just pleading guilty a few days ago to multiple felony charges, where he has now been sentenced to do 10 years. Now, in all of this, one of the craziest twists of this entire story is that the officer's defense to all of this was that his life and his family's life had been threatened, and that is the reason why he assisted in the robbery. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he was able to produce any evidence to prove that and ended up doing the time. Pair that with his history of corruption, I don't think that Mr. Thorne was telling the truth, but I'll leave that to you. But now we're gonna dive into the comments and see what the streets had to say. Police, the biggest gang in America. Well, you're not wrong. That ain't the first time some of them just ain't never got caught. That's a good point too. boy, Freddie took flight and left his man there getting pistol whipped. Y'all can get some facts today. They lined up a lot of robberies/burglaries. My neighbors walked in on them in their house. Same cop that was at our door the previous day. If something feels off, call 911 on speaker. You'll never see them again. Laugh out loud. So what can we learn from this situation? Well, number one, maybe if you're a cop, don't be corrupt. Number two, if you're wearing a lot of chains and jewelry, understand, we've seen this multiple times. You are tempting fate. There are gonna be guys who are going to try to take that off of you. If you got $50,000 in jewelry, $100,000 in jewelry, if you're all over Instagram and in your music videos, with all of this money, all of these chains, all of these rings, all of this cash, you cannot think that you can just walk around like a regular civilian now and think that someone ain't gonna test you. And you just being tough in your mind ain't gonna stop somebody with a gun from pulling that all up off you. 10 minutes before he was robbed, Bankroll Freddie was in the lobby talking like he was fucking Jackie Chan and can handle any goddamn situation coming his way. 10 minutes later, he's running down the hall and his cousin getting pistol whipped. Can't help him. And yes, there are people who dress up like police officers, firefighters, handymen, all sorts of things in order to gain access to you, whether it be at your home, at a motel, whatever, your car, and you have to always be weary. Understand that this is how it happens. They didn't even have to have an APD officer. They could have had a guy with a security officer uniform and they still would have opened the door for him. And I'm not saying to not abide by authority, but I am saying to understand that this is a reality and to be careful when you are in these situations. If it feels off, be safe instead of sorry. And like the last commenter said, it's no harm in calling the police to make sure that that's actually the police, or downstairs to make sure that there's actually security. But I am Joe Stone and this is the Church of Joe Stone podcast. Where cool comes to pray, you come to stay and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another video coming your way. We find the most shocking and provocative news and take it to church. I will see you in the next one.